little bit of hangover from last night coming in from Vegas, or yeah, we were real slow. Utah was real quick, and we turned a lot of pucks over. And we didn't get through the neutral zone and allowed them to get their rush game going. Yeah, like you said, we got going halfway through that second, and the third was a lot better. So, but they're a good hockey team, and you give them that many quality opportunities. I thought Eric Comrie was fantastic. He hadn't played in 3 weeks, and his first start in 3 weeks, I thought he was outstanding.
That was Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel after last night's 5-3 loss to the Utah Mammoth. Tyson Rowicki in for Cam Poitras. Cam's feeling a little bit under the weather, so next man up mentality here at 680.
He doesn't want any part of this anymore. He's afraid.
He did. We talked about this on the pod exclusive, but there's some contention with that bread box. But we do appreciate it nonetheless. But
yeah,
it's
the pod. Sorry to cut you off.
No, but it wasn't the bread box people. It was Cam Poitras.
Again, I interrupted you. Cam texted me today. He goes, do you think somebody will text in to trade Hellebuck after today? And I said, yes. And then 10 minutes later, the email came out, I'm not feeling well. Oh, come on, Cam. Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
No,
I'm good.
He literally was. He tried to get through the morning, and then he fell ill, much like I think some Jets fans are again.
Absolutely. Another tough loss.
There's our segue.
Scott Arniel mentioned it, a little bit of a hangover, and just want to clarify because there's going to be some people that take it.
I'm so glad you bring this up. The one road trip you shouldn't say we're a little hangover from in Vegas is the one thing people will take it literally.
Yeah, so I think we should clarify that he doesn't mean that they got wasted and they played hungover yesterday.
Have you ever gotten on that 6 a.m. flight from Vegas back to Winnipeg?
No, thankfully,
I went on one from Grand Forks, and it was Rochelle Legacy and her husband were on it years ago. Like this is like 13 years ago.
Well, you know what? I'm lucky enough to say that I haven't. We just looked at each other
in the airport and said, "This is going to be a long."
Yeah, you give the sign of the cross. Yeah. We are coming to you live from the Boston Pizza Studio for gourmet pizza and pasta. Bring the team to Boston Pizza. And this hour is also brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road, and at washmethod.com. Jim, we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of news coming out.
Kept coming out.
Absolutely. I mean, there's the Rick Bowness stuff in Columbus. The Athletic released a pretty damning article on the Toronto Maple Leafs. But first, let's stick with the Winnipeg Jets. What were your thoughts on last night's game?
Well, last night I just thought they got it handed to them. And I have to be honest, I know Jets fans might not want to hear this, but I was kind of impressed with how they fought back because they had it taken to them in the first period or two. Eric Comrie was left out to dry. And look, I also thought, because I haven't seen him play in about 2 months, Utah is the best team in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, honestly.
The way they were all over them, creating their offense, not letting them out of their own zone, the cycle in the offensive end for the Mammoth was impressive. And I just thought, this season for these guys cannot end fast enough.
Yeah.
But then they started pushing back. And there was a point where I was going to put out on social media, and I've gotten way better about not putting stuff on social media and just watching the game. But at one point I was like literally going to say, and Brett, I thank you for listening. He's on me again about separating Connor and Scheifele. I was going to put out the next person that scores for the Jets should get a cake. After every game, hey, you contributed. Here's a cake.
Thank you.
Like it's your birthday.
Thank you.
Then Roseanne potted that unbelievable shot.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking at right now. Like, I know there's a lot of Jets fans who are upset, and rightfully so, and we're going to get to all your comments, and especially once the season ends after tomorrow, we're going to do a lot of free-for-all Fridays and open comments, because we're going to rely on you this year. Like we always, Cam and I are, and you and everybody else who joins us on the show talks about what we feel. And then we get, and even when we disagree, but that's the thing. Like, we'll let you have your voice and all that. I'm not going to agree with you all the time, and you're not going to agree with us, but we'll see where you need to fix this.
At the end of the day, it's just hockey.
At the end of the day, it's just keep that in mind. Yeah. Like, I know you saw the text line yesterday. There's so much anger, and I tried to tell Cam that yesterday. I know it's at us, but I don't think it's about us. Some of it is. Some people literally think we have no clue what we're talking about, and that's fine.
And people are allowed to feel exactly how they want to feel.
But
so
I understand. I've been around long enough, and I've been around this Jets team through the lean years and to what they built to what they are now, that you care.
Yeah.
And that's why you're angry. So that's fine. But the positives of like Roseanne looks like, that's exactly what they needed, right? When I look at a trade, I go, are you addressing what you need? Whether you win or lose it, whether you get the better player or not, is it helping you? And they did not have a guy like him on the Manitoba Moose this year. and you bring him into the fold. The question for me going into next year is he going to be like, can he put up 60 points next year? I don't know, but he looks like he could in 2 to 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So there's that conversation a lot, but I just the pushback last night because they were getting it taken to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to touch on one thing though that you mentioned, and I get with the line switching. I get earlier in the year, Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor are the only two that are going throughout the year, and they are the straw that stirs the drink for this Jets offense. But at this point in the season, Jim, don't you want to see a little bit of experimentation now that you're out of the playoffs?
I'm glad you asked me that because there's people in the world who think I want those two handcuffed together forever. I don't. I would like to see some different combinations now. I would. But here's the thing. And this is what it's not just my opinion. It's what most of my opinion is based on years of covering teams and hearing what coaches think and feel and all that. They're trying to win a game. Mm-hmm. So when Connor and Scheifele I think if I pointed out how often those two have been separated in game, it might change. Well, it probably wouldn't. It wouldn't be enough for most people. I know they don't start games apart, but I'm also a big believer in the good thing about this disastrous year, in my opinion, with those two is last year they were together all year. They won a President's Trophy. They went to the second round. They did not score as many points. This year they're going nowhere. It's embarrassing to win a President's Trophy and not even make the playoffs. And yet they scored even more points on a team that's real easy to defend.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at this roster, I'm like, well, I'll defend this line and that's it. And they're scoring even more than they did last year when there was other options. And that's my point. And for everybody who's upset Kyle Connor can't drive a line on his own, okay, so then why do you want him separated?
I mean, I think people's point would be that.
I would like to see it. I would like to see some different combinations last night and tonight.
And I do get that when you are the highest paid player, there is a little bit more of an expectation on you, right? Like there is that kind of.
But if you can get close to 200 points out of two players by playing them together, and here's the point, I don't, and maybe people knock him for that. I don't think the floodgates were open if they were separated.
But we don't know.
No, that's fair. But in some games, we know for a period and a half or a period. But I'm at the point where I would like to see it for sure. I was glad Ville Heinola came into the game last night, and I almost fell off my chair when he missed that open net.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Can the guy catch a break?
Totally. Just to go off that, though, like I don't even dislike the idea of not separating Scheifele or Connor. But give me Rosane on that first line for yesterday's game. Give me, I know Jaeger's a center.
They did. They put him on the first line last night. Yeah, so I'm okay with that. Totally. Let me see what he can do.
And I do want to see a little bit. I would love to see either Cole Perfetti or Gabe Vilardi tried at center just for a couple games.
Yeah.
Because if Gabe Vilardi or Cole Perfetti, they played center in juniors. Like they were drafted to be centers by their teams. Why not give them a shot for the next little bit? Number 2 center is
because I don't think they're going to be centers.
But we don't know. And number 2C is what
they would know.
Maybe
they would know in practice. They would know. Like if they the big thing with Cole Perfetti when he was asked about if he's ever going to go back to center when Arniel took over, he's like and he's not wrong about this. I need him to get super comfortable at wing. Like I need him to become an NHL player that scores 60 points. And he's struggling to do that consistently for 3 years now due to injury and everything else. So why add that to it, right?
I totally get that. As a Flyers fan, though, I saw this with Trevor Zegras this year, where Rick Tocchet and Danny Briere, they said he is a winger. Like, with as much as we want him to be a center, he's a winger. Then injuries start to pile up, and they have no choice but to play him at center. And look at where they are now, right? Like it was like, oh, well, we thought this wasn't going to work, but actually it's kind of working out well for us.
And I don't believe in the conspiracy theory that Scheifele and Connor, or Scheifele goes, I'm only playing with these guys. That's not I don't know, maybe earlier in his career, I don't believe he's sitting there going, no, I'm not playing with this guy.
I don't either. It's a little weird,
He's
though.
like the ultimate team guy.
Yeah.
But what's lost in this whole conversation, honestly, in my opinion, is as much as I would like to see it, you would. And I wouldn't up until this point, like last night, maybe Monday in Vegas, the last 3 games I would. But other than that, I'm adamant. No, it works. They're the 2 highest scoring duos in the league over the last couple of years. Are top 3.
Yeah.
So that's works. it's not on them to get everybody else scoring. Back to my original point of if anybody else scores in Vegas or last night, give them a cake.
Yeah.
Because can somebody step up?
And I totally get not doing that when you were on this last little run here post-Olympic break. I think when it should have been done was during that long losing streak where you weren't winning anyways. Yeah. So you might as well try something else and see if you can get something to work there. I think, after the Olympic break, you're starting to have success. The second line's starting to play a little bit better, so it makes it a little bit harder to split them up.
The only reason I would think last night, it's because you're coming off back-to-back, you traveled, you got pounded in Vegas. Like, it wasn't like Philly where they got pounded 7-1, but I thought they pushed back a lot in the second period and stuff. Then the broken stick Taves, then, all this stuff. But in Vegas, I just didn't think they could. So that's what I took from last night's game is, and I'm not looking for rainbows. There was a rainbow that came over the mountains in Utah that did anyone not think they were going to tie that game?
Yeah, honestly.
I honestly was like, they're going to, and again, I'm not picking on him, poor Hainala, but he should have tied that game.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll take from it. But they didn't, and they lost. And we're going to delve into that as we go forward. So I just, again, like, I think even on, and here's the point now on Thursday, season's over. We could look at some things here, or you guys have had a fantastic season. You want to have one more game together? Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
See if we can score some points. You know what we'd love to do, Coach, whether we're together or not, is what I would assume they'd say, is we'd love to get a win to go into the offseason.
Yeah. I think
what's their best chance to win? And you could say, let's just see, but they could get shut out because Connor's with Perfetti and Taves and Scheifele's with Roseanne and
I think
and they don't score at all.
I think two things can be right at the same time.
I think that's a great way to
where
put it.
You don't. It's a lot easier for us to sit from our seats and go split them up, like when you know that you have that kind of safety blanket. But at the same time, hey, everyone else in the NHL does it. You have to experiment with your lineup a little bit.
And I'm sorry, when we go around the league, I want to say this too, and this is no disrespect for Mark Scheifele. I already said, if this continues for another 4 or 5 years, I think he's going to potentially get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, for sure.
Right now, he's not there yet. But when you separate Necas and McKinnon or Necas and Rantanen, those are different players than Mark Scheifele. Those are players that continuously score 120 points a game. So no matter who you put them with. Same with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Those are like the
when you separate those two guys are still going to get 120 points with somebody else.
Yeah.
It's what I used to say about Laine. No disrespect to Laine, 44 goals, blah, blah, blah. But if he's such a great player, shouldn't he make Ehlers better?
Yeah.
And so those guys, to me, the 4 names I just mentioned, maybe not Necas yet, but well on their way to Hall of Fame. Yeah. If not already in, I would say. And Scheifele's on his way. Connor could potentially eventually down the road be considered, but that's the different ilk of those two. It's not like people show me timelines of McKinnon playing with other people, and I'm just like, yeah, he's Nathan McKinnon. I'm sorry, as much as Mark Scheifele's had an outstanding season and is what he is and deserves all the things he's doing and is a great number 1 center in this league, as you've always pointed out, he's never like top 5.
Yeah.
So he needs a little help there, and it works so good. I'm just like, you got to fix the rest of the roster.
Yeah, and it's just different situations for every team. Like you look at John Cooper in Tampa, and he has no issues throwing the lines into a blender and
he can mix them all up. Edmonton has struggled with it over the years, and Colorado can mix it all up all they want because guess what? They have secondary scoring.
Yeah.
So you can mix and match all you want because there's other people going. No one else has scored this year.
Yeah. Text the show 204-780-6868.
Who scored last night?
Right.
Who scored in Vegas? Let me guess. Connor, Scheifele, Velarde.
It shows that there needs to be the middle 6 needs to be improved this offseason. And there's no doubt that you can't just run this back.
Why? I'm open to it.
Text the show 204-780-6868. Tim says, hey guys, when Trey Living calls Scheifele about the World Championship, does he, number 1, tell him where to go? Number 2, accept and try to prove he should have been on the Olympic team? What should he do? What would you do? We'll tell you after this break. Coming to you live from the Boston Pizza studio. Jets at Noon is brought to you by Boston Pizza. Come in for lunch every weekday to Boston Pizza. Get a delicious main side and ice cold drink for only $15 only at BP. And we'll be right back with more Jets at Noon right after this.
Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Welcome back to Jets at Noon. And Jim, if you're Mark Scheifele, are you going to the Worlds, and what are you saying to Barrett you're living?
Lose my number.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
I don't think he's going. And I don't know this. I don't think he's a vindictive person at all. But vindictiveness or just casualness, I think I'm done with Team Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know what you think. 204.
Now, would it surprise me if he went? No.
Yeah.
It would not. It would not. But I think at 33 in a year like this, he might have the passion to go play for. I don't think he hates Team Canada. Don't get me wrong. Anything like that. But I also think that at 33, this is when players don't go to World Championships. They're like, no, I'm going to take the offseason. I'm going to get better, blah, 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 blah.
Well, and now especially where it's like, well, now I'm never making the Olympics. You know, like it's like that.
But
really
also a season like this, after the success they've had the last 2 seasons, might go, I want to win something.
For sure.
So I don't know what he's going to say. But he's not a vindictive person.
No.
Go lose my number. I'm done with Canada. But
I got to give a shout out to Dick on the text line, 204-780-6868. He's been on fire today. He goes, Treliving is going to say to Scheifele, if you come overseas, I've got some Boston Pizza coupons for you. Hey, that might not be a bad enticer.
Well, that'll get anybody.
I mean, if that was us, Jim, we'd be on the next plane over.
I mean, Kyle Connor might get his Canadian citizenship to go if he gets Boston Pizza.
And speaking of Boston Pizza.
And a KFC.
Come in for lunch every weekday to Bosson Pizza.
I'll go.
Get a delicious main side, an ice cold drink for only $15, only at BP.
Maybe a Brute?
A Brute or a pierogi pizza.
Last time I was there about a week and a half ago, I had a Brute.
It's delicious. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after the 12:30 news, and we'll get to the biggest story in the NHL last night. Chaos in Columbus. Rick Bowness.
Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Welcome back to Jets at Noon. I'm Tyson Rowicki in for Cam Poitras. He's a little under the weather right now, along with Jim Toth. We're coming to you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. For gourmet pizza and pasta, bring the team to Boston Pizza. And send your text in 204-780-6868. This hour is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road and at washmethod.com. We're going to give away a VIP text a little bit later on. We got some contenders here.
We should, first of all, let people know that we're aware our signal has been kind of going in and out, and we're working on it right now. So I appreciate you staying tuned. We're getting the flux capacitor going.
Our crack team of engineers is on the case right now.
The dilithium crystals have come.
Dilithium.
And, we'll get the flux capacitor going.
Wow. That is, I did not know that you had that in you, Jim.
That's how I got here.
Dilithium?
The dilithium crystals.
Oh, you're smarter than I am.
I think it's what made the Starship Enterprise go.
I have no idea what a dilithium is.
You don't know what dilithium crystals are?
No.
Well, they're what made James T. Kirk's Enterprise go.
You just got to believe in them. Right?
I've just announced the world I'm 100 years old.
I do want to get to some of these texts.
I'm not a Trekkie, just the original one. The other ones were junk, but the original Star Trek was good.
I've seen you at a couple conventions, Jim. Don't lie. I've seen you at Comic-Con. But
you there, Toth, have you even kissed a girl yet?
He's got those Spock ears on.
No.
Text line 204-780-6868. This comes from Michael. The loss helped move their draft position. With some help from the out-of-town scoreboard, let's hope the other teams get some wins and move the Jets higher up. Silver lining to an awful season. Now that they're out of the playoffs, I think we can all kind of hope to get as good of odds as possible. But, Jim, it's really limited. I mean, they could jump to as high as 6th. Like, they would be picking 6th in the draft if Seattle were to win out and they were to lose against the Sharks. The highest they could go is 8th. Right now they're 7th, so they can only move up one or move up a spot at the very least.
Right. So, do you want me to play you something real quick? It's only about a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
I know we're going to get to Rick Bowness. So, you know how I don't believe in tanking and this idea that you should do it and how you do it and all this and that you want the higher pick. Do I think the Jets need a high draft pick? Yes, I do. Do I think they're doing themselves any disfavors by winning more games now or losing? No, I don't. So if you go to my timeline at Jim Toth Sports on X, I retweeted something that Vancouver Canucks head coach Adam Foote said, who's won 3 games in a row right now. Now their draft chances aren't going to change. They're going to have the highest.
Dead last.
Here's what Paul Maurice in Florida had to say when George Richards, a frequent guest of this show, asked him about the late season wins and their potential impact on the team's draft picks.
I don't know what we can do with that, and you got to be careful what you wish for. So we'll let the kids that hit the ice play as hard as they possibly can, and we'll worry about where it gets to when it's get to. But you can't get involved in that. It's not right for the game. It's not right for the culture of our room. And, you know, I know we were associated with that idea in Toronto, but we have about 14 guys out of our lineup went up and won a game on a Saturday night. I'll take that.
And you were like that last year, right? You weren't chasing anything as far as seedings went?
No, you just try to do the right thing as best you can, as often as you can. And what you think you can control in this game, you just can't. You think you need that home ice advantage, might be the worst thing that you could possibly get. You lose those first two and you're tight. You get out on the road, you win the first two or lose it, you split. You got to be careful what you wish for. You know, do the right thing, play as hard as you can. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
So for all you tank commanders out there, and he referenced that, he goes, we were associated with that in Toronto. Because there's a game when he was there that they put 14 AHLers in the lineup and they won the game. And what do you think they were doing by putting 14 American Hockey League players in the lineup at the end of the season?
Right.
We're going to give them experience. We're going to have a look at this. Could you imagine the Jets doing that tomorrow night?
Yeah, it's not a good look.
The entire top 9 are benched, and it's a Moose lineup.
I think people want the ethical tanking.
What do you think? No, I get it. Like,
yeah.
I just said, if they could lose 12 games right now, it wouldn't be the worst thing for them.
Yeah.
I understand that. But to try and quantify this for the quote-unquote tank commanders out there who just continuously push this idea that you need a top pick and then think that that top pick is going to come in and rescue you next year. Like, all of a sudden there's second. And I think if you got a top 5 pick this year, not on every team in the National Hockey League, but on this one, I think from the top 5 I've seen, they could play on the Jets next year.
Yeah.
They could come in and contribute.
And take a look at Chicago.
Like, they're not going to come in and be the difference between this year and last year. They're going to help. They're going to maybe put up some more secondary score, and that's best case scenario. What he's talking about there is it's not good for the franchise to be winning games right now, but it's the best thing for the organization.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know,
to have some pride, to bring some of these young kids in, to show them that we're just not letting the season wrap out, because maybe in 4 years from now, when you're not a young kid and we're out of the playoffs with 8 games to go, you don't think that we're just going to go for a skate for 8 games. There's a culture here. And if you don't believe in culture, this leads us to our next segment.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But that's why you don't tank.
Yeah, I do want to mention,
albeit I admit it's probably the best thing for the future.
And there is arguments that tanking can work. So can going all in. So can, retooling on the fly. It just matters about how smart your management is and how smart the moves are that you make. Yeah. Look at Chicago. Like, right now, do you really want to be in Chicago's position? Sure, they have Connor Bedard and Anton Frundell, but they have top picks as well that aren't really panning out, like Lev Shinov and
kid, he's good.
Yeah, Nazar's good as well, but Korchinski right. and Lev Shinov still haven't really made an impact. And where else is the impact coming from this Chicago team?
This is Bedard's 3rd year, right?
Yeah.
So he needs a contract. How close do you think they are to making the playoffs in this division?
At least 3 more years.
At least?
I'd say, yeah. I don't see how this team is going to get.
We agree there's not, even for the Jets, there's not a highly impactful, highly coveted free agent this year.
Yeah.
So they can't sign anyone. They have all these picks. They can trade some of those picks and bring in some assets. This is your quote-unquote rebuild. You got Connor Bedard 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And if you don't get in the playoffs in the next 3 years and look like you're going to stay in them, where do you think he's going in 4 years from now?
Well, exactly. Just go look at their lines right now. I really go look at them and be like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. I just don't see how they're going to go from where they are now to being a playoff team in the next 2 years.
Same with San Jose. Like, I mean, I love the young pieces in San Jose, and there's no better one than Celebrini right now. But how far are you away from this kid who's now did this year and going into a contract year next year? I mean, you don't have 8 years anymore.
Right. You just have to make smart decisions. You need a management group that can make smart decisions that you trust in.
To my point before we go to Rick Bowness, just quickly here, Utah, like 3 years ago, Cam and I'm like, Cam, they have way too many picks. Like, they have to start moving some of these. And then they did for Sergachev.
Yeah.
And then they did for, and then they made a trade for Uyghur this year, like a ton of second-round picks for Uyghur, because they finally have something. If you don't get something within 3 years and start moving forward to that, and tanking doesn't do that for you.
No, and look at Utah. I mean, they took a risk. That's the other thing is that I forget the name of the caller from yesterday's show, but he had mentioned how Kevin Scheifele makes the right move a lot of the times because there hasn't been that crazy risk.
And this is the year he has to.
Yeah.
To fix this, which he needs to fix this year, he's got to take some risks and make some trades.
Let's get to this now. This clip here, it's going to start. We'll just hop right into it. It starts with Rick Bowness responding to a question about whether he's ever had a more frustrating end to the season. And he has, because we've seen it here in Winnipeg. But here's Coach Bones.
No. And you know what? All you got to do is look at the stat sheet. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. Like, I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care. Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them. Like, how can you go out and play like that? Should have done this about a month ago. But this is why we are where we are. This is why we're out of the playoffs. That kind of effort. Losing, you have to hate losing. I don't care if it's a meaningless game. I don't care. Show up and compete. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. What else you want to know?
You reached them for so long after you got here. How did it stop? Where did it stop?
Because it got tough. Because it got hard. Like we talked about after the Olympic break. It's going to get harder. So everything's good as long as it's going their way. And now it gets tough, we don't want to battle back. And that's what's happened over the last a couple of weeks. That's all that's happened. We're going to change that. If I'm back, I don't know if I'm back. Don and I will talk. We'll get to that. But man, oh man, some of those guys are so lucky the season's over and there's no practice tomorrow. Anyways, there's no more games. What else you want to know?
I think even in the long history of this franchise, I don't think they've ever lost 6 games in a row to end a season at home.
No.
Is that worse?
It's terrible. Inexcusable. If they're not embarrassed by, not only tonight, by that, they're on the wrong team. They are. They got to be embarrassed with that.
Ooh-wee. So not unlike 2023 in Vegas, when they were facing an elimination game and they just did not show up.
Yeah.
And Rick said sort of, like he said, I saw this a month ago and didn't say anything. For the Jets, when Rick said it, he said, I saw it back in February and didn't, do anything about it. And a lot of people go, well, if you're the coach, why didn't you? Because you were winning then. Like a month ago, he can't do this because they're winning. And then the team goes, why are you, we just won this, and this. And I would presume back in February that year, the Jets were rolling a bit and all that. So there's a lot of things here to unravel. And from a different side of it, on my show at 1:30, I'm going to play this and delve into this about how
you couldn't do this in
the office. But the pendulum has swung so far, especially in pro sports, that now the ironicness of this from Rick Bowness and having done it with the Jets a couple of years ago and doing it again last night with Columbus is the players' pushback today.
Yeah, and I want to read Aaron Portzline.
Sure, go ahead.
He covers the Blue Jackets for The Athletic and one of the best in the business. It's locker room cleanout today for the Blue Jackets. And so this is from Aaron's Twitter. So far, theme among Blue Jackets players Zach Rowinski, Ivan Provorov, and Sean Monahan, with more to come, is that they disagree with Coach Rick Bowness's impassioned, they don't care observation. In fairness, Bowness did soften that stance later in his comments. Players are drawing a distinction between Bowness's not hating to lose and what they feel is more learning how to win. Captain Boone Jenner taking questions now, also taking issue with the they don't care narrative. This, of course, may only strengthen Bowness's contention. And I think that's all fair points.
Well, first of all, it reminds me of the Shoresy episode where the GM said, oh, they don't love to win? And he's like, no, they don't hate to lose.
Yeah.
So we'll get into this in the next segment as well. But I just, the players all push back on this. And the reason for that is, do you want our boss to tell you what a poor job you're doing in an office behind closed doors, or do you want her to come on the show and do it?
And some people do. Like
I'm fine with it. I'm the type of, and maybe I'm old school or whatever, but if somebody said on this show, this is what you need to do better and start doing it now, I'd probably do it better.
Well, and also
that's the kind when I was at much level than just minor sports. That's the kind of player I was. I didn't mind this.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit more. We're going to take a break here.
People do.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into just the management part of this now with the Blue Jackets and where they go from here. We'll be right back with more Jets at Noon right after this.
Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Welcome back to Jets at Noon. I'm Tyson Rowicki in for Cam Poitras along with Jim Toth. We appreciate all your texts today. I want to mention a couple here. I lost my place. Here's Alan saying, hey guys, we all know that Bones is a passionate coach and he doesn't hold any punches. If you can't handle the truth, you won't change. Good on him. And I agree. There's a lot of people echoing that sentiment, and also do want to acknowledge that, yes, we do know that we are experiencing audio issues today, some technical difficulties. We're on that. Don't worry about it. We're going to try and get that fixed as soon as possible. But thank you for letting us know. We do appreciate that. Jim, we got about 3.5 minutes here. Rick Bowness, I mean, this situation, the Jets have experienced it. And even just for another tie to the Winnipeg Jets here, remember what Patrick Laine said about a year ago when he got traded to Montreal, and the quotes that he said where he goes, quote, it felt like we were just doing the same thing year after year. I was tired of losing and just giving up when it's December to start focusing on next year. I'm not going to do that. That's frustrating as a player when you're trying to win. And some people are, not like that. They're a little too satisfied and too comfortable where they're at. It wasn't really a fit for me anymore. But here in Montreal, it doesn't matter if we're winning or losing. We always try our best, end quote. I mean, those are pretty damning remarks from Patrick Laine himself. And at the time, a lot of people were like, wow, Laine is going to say this? Like, really?
Well, Rowinski, who I really like Rowinski. I think he should win the Norris. I think he's a great player and all that. But I never hear from him. He came out and spoke about it because he's like, we welcomed him in. We did this, we did that. That, they took offense to it and he stood up for the team and all that. Everybody wants to win. This is my point of tanking too. Like, losing, said it, Columbus has been around for 25 years. They've made the playoffs 6 times and won 1 playoff round. It can set in. And to what Laine was saying, what stood out to me when Laine said that back in December of 2024 was the fact that, I could see that, the routine of it by December. Well, we're 12 points back again. So we just do what we do until the organization fixes the team or makes us better or whatever. That's what I think Rick is speaking about. You have to want to be the difference. You have to want it to change. It's, to my point of why I'm going to talk about this at 1:30, it's not unlike life. Everybody thinks of change, but no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we should acknowledge too that it's so hard in the NHL, not just in the NHL, not just in professional sports, but in everything. When you're in charge of a group of people, it can be so tough to manage everyone's egos. And especially when you're a professional athlete, there is a lot of inflated egos, and there's a lot of people who think highly of themselves, a lot highly than some other people do, right? And you might think that you want to win, but Brad Marchand wrote a great Players Tribune article a little while ago where he explains what he went through and how he came up and growing up playing minor hockey, always being the smallest guy, and his dad saying, like, do you want to win? Yeah. And it's not just, of course I want to win. It's, are you willing to go onto the ice and do whatever it takes to win? And even if that means doing something dirty, even if that means stepping over the line, are you willing to do that? And there's a lot of guys that just aren't in the NHL.
Yeah, that's the culture part, right? Like, yeah. And what Rick does a fantastic job. So here's the thing when he did it with the Jets. I know we got to be quick here, but what's lost in what Wheeler was the first guy to push back on bonuses about. What's lost in his pushback was he ended it with, but we're all grown men and we can fix this or get past it and move forward. And then Rick took the C away. Then he came back for the final year and made it a collective, right? What stood out to me was not some of the guys that did weigh in and say, yeah, we agree with Wheeler. We didn't think he should do that. What stood out to me was when Kyle Connor did and when Adam Lowry did. Because Adam Lowry and Rick Bowness are such good friends. I think they speak weekly or monthly or something. They love each other.
Yeah.
That's what I think needs to come out of this if you're the Columbus Blue Jackets. Today sucks. That wasn't fun. How dare you? How dare us? Blah, 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 blah. But where do you go from here?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. And we didn't even get to talk about the Leafs situation, Jim. We'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit more.
Do you look at yourself a little bit from this and go, as mad as I am, what can I do to change this?
Self-reflection can be hard sometimes.
It's probably the hardest thing.
Absolutely. Well, that
Especially
does
when you got a loser like me. I hate looking at myself. It's always benefited me.
Do want to mention as well, Chico said that was the best Arneal impression when I said don't worry about it in regards to the audio issues. I actually did realize, like, I just sounded like Scott Arneal there, but thanks for playing that out, Chico.
People probably think we were dropping F-bombs the whole show and it was just getting edited. We weren't.
That does it for us today. Jim Toll will take you all the way to 2 o'clock. A live version of the Ben Mulrooney Show will follow after that. And then Richard Kluche has the news the rest of the way. Special thanks to producer Braden Owasco for making the show go. And we'll be back same time tomorrow. See ya.